This is the 128th episode of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show on December 8th, 2022. My name's Andy Z. I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. If you're watching this show for the first time, this is a show about the urgent need for revolution. How nothing less, no elections, no charity, no social work, not doing you, while the system that we live under, this mad and murderous system of capitalism, imperialism, is quite possibly going to do in all of humanity. Nothing else and nothing less than an actual revolution is going to come anywhere even near the ballpark of dealing with what humanity all over the world faces at this moment. Not even remotely close to dealing with climate change or the danger of nuclear war. Dangers which accelerate with every passing week and month. The revolutionary leader Bob Avakian BA wrote and then said in a series of 3 extraordinary, unique interviews right here on the RNL show this.
We can no longer afford to allow these imperialists to dominate the world and to determine the destiny of humanity. They need to be overthrown as quickly as possible.
I'm going to come back to Bob Avakian and the interviews he did with us in a moment. But first, I want to welcome my co-host, Sansara Taylor.
Andy, it's really good to be with you, and I want to welcome everybody tuning in. In today's show, the heart of our show is going to be an answer that Bob Avakian gives to one of the questions I asked him during the interviews that Andy just mentioned. And we're also going to share a response from a member of the Chicago Revolution Club to these interviews. And we have a couple other important things for you along the way. But first, we want to speak to you directly about the importance of the RNL, the Revolution Nothing Less show, in these times.
The RNL Revolution Nothing Less show is about how we can prepare in this country, in this time, for a real revolution, which means nothing less than overthrowing the capitalist imperialist system we live under, a system that exploits people all over the world and enforces that exploitation with brutal force. They talk about freedom and the pursuit of happiness. For whom? All over this country, police dog and shoot down our people in the streets and in their homes. And not so, by the way. 2 years after the amazing George Floyd protests, these pigs are setting a U.S. historic record this year for murdering in cold blood, executing people without trial, disproportionately black and brown youth. And for all the talk of Russia and China being police states, which they are, no other country in the world imprisons more people per capita than the U.S. Police murder and white supremacy are but one of the outrages of this system, a system that oppresses women, immigrants, differently gendered people, and as I said before, threatens the very existence of humanity as the largest polluter that has led to global warming, and as it ramps up the danger of war, catastrophic war potentially with Russia and China. If you're watching this show, I assume that you care and that you are paying attention. But are you sounding the alarm? Are you reaching out to and struggling with and arguing with everyone you know to watch this show and go to revcom.us? And yourself, are you doing all you can to get with this revolution? I have not yet spoken of what the U.S. does to people around the world, but we must. For if you are not seen and breaking with what your country does to people all over the world, if you're indulging in this thank you for your service bullshit, we, meaning humanity, will never get free. To take just one example, go to our website, revcom.us, and read an article this week about what your country, the self-described greatest fucking country in history, the USA, beacon to the world, has done to the country of Venezuela, to the people of Venezuela over the last 15 years. 7 million people have been driven from their homes, forced to wander the hemisphere, some going north, some going south, often on foot for weeks and for months, with unspeakable conditions and dangers. And as of 2019, 14% of the children under 5 have suffered from acute malnutrition, and 57% of the women who were pregnant were malnourished. Think this is just unfortunate and not planned, not conscious policy by your government from Obama through Trump and down to Biden? No. The U.S. has put extreme sanctions on Venezuela, measures that knowingly created enormous suffering among the people. In fact, This was punishment for Venezuela's attempt to use its oil to wheedle and wangle within the imperialist system in a way that the U.S. didn't like and saw as against its interests. Listen to this from the former U.S. ambassador who also served in Latin America under George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump, telling you what the U.S. was setting out to do.
Good news. What the debate now is, and this is a legitimate debate, is the impact on the people of Venezuela. How hard do we want to apply the screws to Venezuela? We should do it understanding that it's going to have an impact on millions and millions of people who are already having great difficulty finding enough to eat, getting themselves cured when they get sick, or finding clothes to put on their children before they go off to school. We don't get to do this and pretend as though it has no impact there. We have to make the hard decision. The desired outcome justifies this fairly severe punishment.
Greatest country indeed. Such inhuman, brutal, imperialist repression is what your 500 channels on your flat screen, your cell phones, your ability to close your eyes and ears to the cries of the people around the world and around the corner, it's what they all rest on. We live in an empire whose days need to be numbered, and they can be. And this is a show on a mission for a revolution to make that real. What is central to the RNL show is that we bring to you every week the leadership for revolution in Bob Avakian, B.A., who was a revolutionary leader who came out of the tumultuous and revolutionary movements of the 1960s, and he did not give up, but went to work on how a real liberating revolution could be made, and how that revolution could not only create a society where you'd want to live, but could set us on the road to emancipating all of humanity all over the world. There has never been a leader like this, and this fall, as I said a few minutes ago, we here at the RNL show conducted 3 extraordinary interviews with Bob Avakian. As you watch these 3 interviews, you will experience a leader who, with straight talk, blows away the fog of mystification of all the problems that people here and around the world face, and with a scientific approach to understanding the world. He makes this scientific approach understandable for everyone. In each of the 3 interviews, B.A. brings out that we are living in a unique moment, a rare time when making revolution in this country has become more possible. The divisions are so sharp in the U.S. that those who rule are not able to rule in ways that people have become accustomed to. Big jolts, like taking away the right to abortion, shock people and cause them to increasingly and profoundly question the whole setup. And that is the importance of this, the RNL show, and these interviews with B.A. getting out far and wide to give the masses of people whose lives are repeatedly being upended the road forward out of this madness. As you go through these interviews, you can feel the tremendous confidence that Bob Avakian has, that through sharp struggle with the very people who need to be a part of this revolution, some of your friends, people you work with, people you don't even know, who need to be a part of this sharp struggle with those people over what is the problem we face and why is revolution the only solution for people. For all the crap that they are into now, they can be won to see and act another way. Bob Avakian minces no words in his criticism, but he has strategic confidence that people could break with the bullshit, whether speaking of the youth in the inner cities who are killing each other, or of the educated middle class caught up in a me culture, including in its destructive, woke, scrambling over and canceling each other just to get a dirty piece of the imperialist pie. And what has grabbed people from all walks of life as they watch Bob Avakian up close and personal in these interviews is his humanity, and the humanity of the road and the future he is fighting for. He speaks of poetry, of music that gives flight to the imagination. He speaks of awe and wonder at the beauty of nature and of the art that people create and why that is essential to life and to revolution. He speaks of a movement for a revolution and a future society that fosters critical thinking, that is not guided by revenge, but by an ethos of generosity of spirit and largeness of mind. So with that, let's get into today's show. Sansara?
So the heart of today's show, as I mentioned before, is going to be an answer from Bob Avakian in the interview where I asked him about the Supreme Court's recent overturning of women's fundamental right to abortion. After that, we're going to play a portion of a conversation that Andy hosted with members of the Chicago Revolution Club. We aired most of that last week, but we saved a portion where one of the members, Roosevelt, responds to Bob Avakian's discussion about breaking with the oppression of women. And then we have a treat, which will be Pete, not on the street, but here in the seat in the studio, a member of our RNL crew, bringing you a special segment on the major fund drive that the RevComs have launched. This revolution needs to reach thousands, tens of thousands, and soon millions, and that's going to require major funds. So he's going to tell you about that and some of the efforts underway and how you can get involved and need to get involved in that. And finally, we're going to close out the show with some artistic expressions of solidarity with the struggle of the Iranian people, women and men rising up against the Islamic Republic there. So with that, let's dive in. This is an excerpt from the interviews with Bob Avakian.